What's up, and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com. I wish this was spooky season, but it's not. It's Christmas. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. I'm a blind film critic, and I, this is Nosferatu. so, um, I was given early access to this film. I don't know when I'm going to drop this review, because I actually don't even conceptually understand when the embargo is, and I'm not going to try to fuck anything up. So probably later. I'm gonna sit on this for a few weeks, but I just want everybody to know I saw Nosferatu a couple weeks before it came out. I was provided a screener for it, sadly without audio description, um, which is par for the course for the most part with screeners and audio description. And I say basically every review I at least make a cursory note of saying, like, to the studios, just in case somebody watches this, do you really think, ask yourself this, because you're making these screeners for wide consideration across not just critics groups, but also branches, all of these guilds that you're trying to get nominations from, especially a film like Nosferatu, which is very crafts heavy. You've got Writers Guild, you've got Screen Actors Guild. I actually know that there are blind members in the Screen Actors Guild. Do you really think that there aren't blind and low vision viewers in any of these bodies? Because you're really pushing a gamble here when you don't provide accessibility. Also, continue to provide closed captioning for the same reason. Like, I think there's some weird assumption that it's not worth it, but every time you alienate a voter, you just lose their vote. Like, it's really hard for me to vote for things that I don't contextually understand. Um, that being said, Nosferatu is directed by Robert Eggers. It stars, uh, debatably, uh, depending on how you look at it, either stars Bill Skarsgård or Nicholas Hoult or Lily Rose Depp. I don't know. That's, really, they have almost equal screen time. It's also got Willem Dafoe is in the cast. Um, Emma Corrin is here, and like some other people, but those top three are sort of the driving force behind this movie. Um, and it's clearly a remake with Bill Skarsgård playing Count Orlok, which is like leaps and bounds better than The Crow. like, he's gonna look back on that movie for years and just be like, "Fuck me." I hope he got paid because that movie is awful. Um, and this year he was in Boy Kills World and this, and they're both. Boy Kills World was fun. I love that movie. I thought that was an awesome time at the movies. And Nosferatu, I'm just gonna say no audio description, but I cannot wait to watch this with audio description. I had a blast with this movie. The sound design in this movie, fuck if it doesn't get nominated. I mean, I thought it was incredible. Like, sound design, sound mixing, absolutely. And the score, like, talk about, man, Robert Eggers really assembled a film here that feels like the craft should be all over the place. From what I've heard, makeup too for Bill, because apparently he's completely unrecognizable in this role due to the makeup that they did to make him look like Count Orlok. And man, his voice in this is just like, what in the hell? I mean, it is, if that's his voice unmodified, good God, man. Like, he should be in the Oscar race. Like, I want to know more about this film. I'm so intrigued by it because like, I think Robert Eggers has gotten better with each film. Like, I did not like The Witch. Actually, I hate The Witch. It's sort of the same thing with Ari Aster. Sorry, guys, I'm not a big fan of Hereditary, although I like Hereditary more than The Witch. I really dislike The Witch. Um, then there's The Lighthouse, which, was a good way to showcase acting. I know it's a divisive movie, but it's really hard to look at Willem Dafoe and be like, that's not good. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's really hard to look at that film and be like, no. Um, and then you've got, uh, you know, what was it, like 2 years ago that he came across with um, the the that Hamlet movie. What the fuck was that movie called? Anyway, with Alexander Skarsgård, Nicole Kidman. That was brutal. That was a lot better. Still not quite into my favorite. Nosferatu feels like we're here. Like Robert Eggers has finally figured out how to mix his artistry in a way that also completely tells the story from beginning to end. I'm waiting for the audio description to like connect some dots for me for to be able to like land a solid grade here. The funny thing about Nosferatu is just like I've said with a couple other films this year that were missing audio description, this feels like it could be a top 25 or top 10 or something like that movie, but I don't know because of the lack of accessibility. I'm not going to get that audio description likely before um, I release a list, so I don't really know what to do with this movie except to maybe acknowledge it as an honorable mention as a potential. But I was really into this, the story and everything, and the acting. I think Lily Rose Depp, she's considering. I think a lot of people would write it off as being like a nepo baby thing. Um, I think she absolutely shows that she has talent and range here. So I think Nicholas Hoult is excellent here. It's the second time he's been in a vampire movie after Renfield. So this was a solid performance from him. He's had a good year with juror number two in this, and sadly he won't get recognized at the Oscars for either one of them. But they're both strong performances. And when you look at Bill Skarsgård, it's like, how could you not? You know, I mean, I remember back when Shadow of the Vampire came out, and there was sort of that campaign for Willem Dafoe for that, and it was because of such the transformative performance in that. Well, I feel like Bill Skarsgård has to have that conversation, and the only reason we're not doing it is because of genre. And I was thinking to myself, this is the year to embrace genre. Do you know what I'm saying? This is the year for the Oscars to just say fuck it and just go for it. I mean, they've got the substance, which is the greatest way to just sort of say, we're here, we're going to start nominating horror movies when they're really good. There's no reason Hugh Grant couldn't take the fifth spot in Best Actor, you know, for Heretic. There's no reason for that. There's no reason Bill Skarsgård couldn't. So there's no reason Nosferatu couldn't have technical nominations. There are films this year that just sort of warrant attention, not just from the scary movie perspective, but legitimate actual consideration for their achievement in their fields and in various crafts, and deserve to be considered right up against everything else, possibly even more so than a lot of Oscar baity titles that just feel safe. I feel like safe choices. So I, even without audio description, I think this is my favorite score of the year. I thought whatever they were doing here, it was the constant sense of dread. It was chilling. It really supported the film. It wasn't trying to do too much to where you're like, oh, it's too bombastic. It always felt like it was supporting Robert Eggers' vision for whatever was going on. Even though I didn't have the audio description, it just felt like this is right. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just felt like Challenger sometimes was a bit much for me, but it also sometimes was right. But this never felt like it never felt anything other than perfectly complimentary of the film. And I love the sound design here. Sound design is stunning. Just absolutely stunning, the way that they use volume and sound and echoes and everything. Just listening to this film was like an auditory experience. I don't usually rave about films this much that didn't have audio description, that are clearly films that need it, because it's a horror movie. So like I don't even know how anybody dies. I have no idea what kind of gore is in here. You know, like so many things I have no idea. Um and There's like a scene with rats, and I didn't even conceptually understand what was happening. You know, like, I mean, there were scenes that I was lost. But there's so much good stuff here that I persevered through this, and I'm really excited to watch this again with audio description. It's a film that really feels like it's up my alley. It's a film that really feels like, you know, uh, it, it could be a top 10 film, or it might just fall short of it and still be a top 25. But I definitely don't feel like I'm going to go negative on this. I don't think audio description is going to is going to spin this to where I'd be like, oh no, this doesn't work, you know? And if anything, it reminds me a lot of exactly sort of how I feel about Ari Aster. I think he's gotten better with each film. I actually, Beau's Afraid is my favorite Ari Aster film, so I'm actually really looking forward to his next work because I think with each film, these are very talented directors that hit the scene and they have very specific visions and they're attracting horror audiences and they are really sort of moving forward with each film. And I think that's amazing because it means one day you may actually hear Ari Aster or Robert Eggers called in the best director race because they're not taking a step back. You know, they're still moving forward. Um, and to me, that's exciting. So Bill Skarsgård here is just phenomenal. If that, I don't know if they're using voice modulation on him or anything, but if he's managing to do that with his voice, I just want to give him like an achievement of something, like some sort of like, because he doesn't sound anything like that. Like if you've ever, first of all, I just saw The Crow like I don't know like a month ago, um, albeit very late, but did anybody really want to see The Crow like when it came out? Be honest. And so I know what his voice sounds like. It's funny because he doesn't speak in Boy Kills World. Um, but yeah, it's something. This is something. I hope you guys enjoy this. I'm sure because it's Focus Features, they'll have audio description in theaters, and then they'll have audio description eventually on Peacock, so I'll get to watch it. So I'll absolutely do a second look at this, if for no other reason than to talk about the audio description track for this film. But I'm actually really excited to do a second look on this movie. Some of the other films that I've watched, I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll watch it again. With audio description, I don't know. It just seems fine. Not a high priority for me. Um, Nosferatu shot up to the top of my list of being like, my God, please somebody give me the audio description. It's like right below Nickel Boys. I'm really interested to hear how the audio description is for Nickel Boys. So even though I'm less excited to see Nickel Boys a second time, that is the most interesting audio description track to me. Is I want to really hear how they navigate that film. But this is right below that. Um, this is why you put screeners out there because I'm willing to say, you know, fucking sucks, doesn't have accessibility, but damn, I know it will, and I can't fucking wait to see it. And please consider actually passing me through screeners that have audio. Put it on next year. Just assume that there are blind and low vision people. It costs you nothing, really. It costs you nothing to build a platform with secondary audio tracks and audio description that you're already recording and already have made for the movie's release. So, yeah, it's a no lose game. Like you lose nothing by doing it. So why not? And see if maybe you get a few votes from the people who happen to need that accessibility and who are stuck in guilds, but because they're in a minority, like nobody ever fights for them or stands up for them and says, "Oh yeah, we need this. I need that. We require this." I've always said that if every film festival, if every awards body required accessibility across the board, we would have a ton of it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you couldn't get into a film festival and if you couldn't be considered for any awards without any level of without having consistent accessibility available for not just for the voters but for the audience, sort of like how they're required to release in New York and LA. Well, if you're required to release also audio description, then you know we'd have a hell of a lot more of it than we do. So and then it's just about having somebody manage to make sure it passes through downstream from there to VOD or streaming or whatever. But at least it creates an available track and gets it out there and pushes it in a way. So my floating grade for Nosferatu, I can't ever do a floating grade of an A because then it has nowhere to go. So my floating grade is always like an A minus, meaning it could go down to a B plus. Unlikely. It's more likely to be an A minus or an A, and that's where the audio description will come in. Will let me know if where I'm at. I suppose yes, it could go down to a B plus, which is why the floating middle for this is an A minus. But yeah, technically my grade is unwatchable because I wouldn't recommend this to blind people to spend their money on without audio description. But I don't think that'll be a problem. I think this is just how it was presented to me because I don't think there are blind film critics or blind anything in any guild ever. So, hope you enjoy it. It's a weird Christmas title. It's a weird Christmas title. But, man, I don't know, it might be the best one. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you guys on the other side.